So the first thing we're going to start off with is a spec sheet. This is inside the catalog I sent you guys. You should have copies of it. He's gonna pull that up here in just a second. There we go. All right, so this system's designed to handle a very high amount of rainwater. You'll notice there's only a 2.5 inch space on these gutter guards. The reason it only needs to be 2.5 inches is because the way it's designed. It has a high flow louvered frame, which I will hold up to the camera here. The high flow louvered frame, as you can see, and you've probably noticed if you have some, I know you guys have some there, that frame is built that way specifically to allow water to fall freely through the frame. Most framed products will have a floor. It'll be like a base floor. It'll be a stamped aluminum or it'll be a stamped steel, and the water falls through the screen, has to find a hole and then fall out. So it slows the water down exponentially. With the frame built this way, the water flows through freely, and so you get a much higher output for water throughput when you build it this way. This raised screen design, this S-curve, this is a patented design. Nobody else can copy us. There's people out there that have tried, but there's a specific depth for each design that we make that is required in order for it to take the maximum amount of water. So most people don't know how to do that. It's very technical and it's very precise. And so what this screen does is it creates surface tension when you put this in this screen this way. The raised screen design also gives air underneath the debris, so it creates lift so that debris can come off the guard easily. It also will crisscross, as you notice these waves, it'll cross across these bars that are touching the back of the screen. And when they do that, obviously it increases the water flow through surface tension. It is probably the highest efficient gutter guard as far as water intake and debris shedding on the market today. There's lots, like I said, lots of companies out there that have products that claim to do these things. Ours is the only one that's patented to actually do so. So it's a very good selling point when you're out there to let people know we're the original when it comes to designs on gutter guards. That this is patented and nobody can copy us. And if you see a knockoff, it probably doesn't work. If this depth is a little bit less, the water won't go through this screen. If it's a little bit too deep, you start beginning to break the wires. And so it's very precise in and precision on how it's made. The back wing is affixed separately, so we can make these wings whatever size you want. If you have a custom job, you can make adjustments. All I need is an inside measurement, and we'll go through that when we get to it. We are going to discontinue our brown color. The extra large mesh, which you guys, it would be a nightmare for you guys up there. The extra large mesh is going away. And then mill finished aluminum is changing to colonial gray so that it doesn't have a shine when the sun hits it. It's not reflecting light. And so those are going to be all painted with a baked on enamel. And the baked on enamel obviously is it makes it stay and last. It's the same way they do the gutters. So just keep that in mind. We also still have custom copper available. So if you have a copper gutter, we make copper gutter guards to suit the metallurgic reaction that you would have with copper and any other metals. So we want to make sure we keep metal with metal. This has a lifetime product warranty. That does not mean the screen cannot clog. So just FYI, if you're on a house that's got a cotton willow tree, you're probably going to get a carpet matting on it, and it's going to have to be serviced once in a while. All gutter guards, no matter who they are, have to be serviced once in a while. So ours is the least amount of service. So you just want to make sure you condition your customers, let them know there's no such thing as a maintenance-free gutter guard, but you can sell it as the most maintenance-free gutter guard on the market because that's what it is. I get fewer phone calls from this one than any other gutter guard I've ever sold. I used to work for several different companies in the past, well, three, and those companies. One of the major things that I found out competing against Valor when I worked for them was that they were calling me saying, "Hey, I get fewer calls with Valor than I do with any other gutter guard, and that's why I sell their product and not yours." And I was like, I need to go to work for them. So here I am. This is made with a 304 stainless steel. The reason it's 304 is because the amount of nickel they put in the screen. The more nickel you have in the screen, the less corrosive the less corrosion you get on a screen. It's a surgical grade. This is what they make a lot of surgical tools out of, so it's surgical steel. It comes in a 40 mesh and a 24 mesh. The large mesh and the 40 mesh are going to be the two screen sizes that we carry the most. You're going to want to use probably 24 mesh most of the time up there. But if you do get in a Doug fir pine needle situation where the pine needles you're dealing with are the little 1-inch, real skinny ones, they might get stuck in the 24. So you might move to a 40 mesh on those particular houses. Now, the trade-off is if they get a huge pile up on top of the screen because it's a 412 pitch or it's a flat roof, it does need to be serviced. Otherwise, you're going to get a little bit of water overshoot. So you want to make sure you condition your customer for those types of situations. They're very unique. I don't get them very often, but you're going to get them more often in Washington than probably anywhere else in the country. So just FYI on that. Again, the High Flow Series gutter guard has a 2.5-inch exposure of screen. Now, if you get on a house where there's lots of moss, which you guys run into all the time, I'm sure, we do have what's called a moss away product. That is a zinc strip that actually fits in the back of the gutter guard here, along the back edge near the wing. And when water comes across it, it will release zinc oxide out onto the screen and all the way through the gutter system, making it virtually impossible for organic growth to grow. So you won't get moss or algae or any of those types of things if you use the moss away product. It is a little bit more expensive, so you're going to need to adjust your pricing accordingly. So just make sure when you do that, you do offer it's a markup, and you're charging your customer the right amount so that you're not losing any money on profit. The 20 gauge cold rolled aluminum that it's made with, the frame's made with, you'll notice it's very rigid. You can't bend it, and that's because of the louver frames in it. If this were a flat piece of 20 gauge aluminum, it'd be very pliable and easy to bend. But because of the bends and the way it's designed, it makes it very, very strong. It'll hold 125 pounds of snow on top of it. With the flat wing, with the bent wing, it'll go much, much further. So our threshold is 125, but like I said, with the bent wing, if it's mounted to the back of the fascia, it's obviously going to hold a lot more weight than most gutter guards. So with that said, there's with the cold rolled aluminum, that's the same aluminum they make with you get your roof kits, your roof caps, your vents, all that stuff's made out of. So same material, 50-year product, and it has the baked on enamel. This comes in a 5 or 6 inch gutter guard standard, but again, you can make I can make you a custom gutter guard for anything. I've made them all the way up to 26 inches wide. And what we do with that is we'll rivet bases of these bases together so that there's more screen area for gutters that are that large. Because when you have a commercial roof and it's 26 inches wide, you're getting a lot of drainage off that roof. In many cases, it's a flat roof coming down, and it's sloped into a drainage, and they just want to cover that to keep all the debris out. And this will do it. But I think we riveted 3 bases together on that particular project with a wing that was about 12 inches wide. The 304 stainless steel again is the race, gives us that race screen stamping. Can you scroll down? If you're in the mountains and you have snow, we do have a heat cable cover that goes right on the front of the gutter. And this heat cable cover will sit like so and house a cable underneath. You have to buy the cable separately. So just FYI, we only sell the cover. We are not an electrical company. We're not licensed to do that in other states. So you have to go to your local supply house to get the cable. And then these screw holes match up with the guard, and then they sit flush on the guard, and the heat radiates through the gutter guard to make it a heated guard. So it's very simple to do. It's very easy to install. We try to make everything as simple as possible for the installers so that you're getting not only the best bang for your buck, but your installers are in and out quickly, so that if they're being paid piecemeal by $1.50 a foot or $2.50 a foot or whatever you pay, then you're they're getting they can do it in a timely fashion and make money quickly. We also have what's called a push panel. This is a folded aluminum piece. If you're in a pinch, say it's a tile roof and you've got flat wing product, we sell this F channel that is mounted to the fascia, just like the bent wing would, but you have this F channel here, and the guard will actually slide into the F channel rather than under the shingle. So if you run into a situation like that where you just can't go underneath the shingles are glued down, this just slides right into this wing here, and you have this effect. Oops, let me move that over. And you'll see how that slides in, and now you're mounting it that way. So there's a couple different ways to mount the gutter guard. The standard mount is the bent wing or the flat wing, but if you get into a unique situation, again, I have these for an extra part.
Yeah, we have all this. Yeah.
Let's see. Difference between the flat wing product and the bent wing product is very obvious. This is flat, goes underneath the shingle, very easy to install. This is bent, has that L on the back, and you put a screw through and mount it to the fascia board. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Class A fire compliance. All these gutter guards that we make are Class A fire compliant. They're wildland urban interface compliant, and why is that important? That's important because insurance companies on the whole West Coast now are canceling insurance if you're in a wildland urban interface, which you guys are heavily surrounded by wildland and forest. So when you're in those situations, you have to have, and insurance companies are coming in, somebody buys a house, your gutter guards are going to be required to have an A-class fire compliant gutter guard on their house. We are one of the only gutter guards in the country that have that designation. There are lots of gutter guards out there that would probably pass, but have not been tested, and we are ASTM tested. ASTM is the American Standard for Testing of Materials, and they have tested our gutter guards and also done ember testing for burning embers that are poured onto the screen for a 30-minute process with an attempt to not burn cotton, which they placed in the gutter, and ours passed with flying colors. So that's a very important designation for gutter guards right now. If you go up against somebody who's selling a plastic gutter guard, for instance, any kind of plastic is going to become obsolete over time, in my opinion. The insurance companies are going to make that happen, not the laws themselves. So even though it might not be against the law to put one on, the insurance company might not insure your house if you do put one on. So it's a very important piece when you're going up against other dealers or other companies out there that sell something that does not have that A-class fire compliant designation. And scroll to the next slide. We've been #1 rated gutter guard in the country for about 6 years running. This is used to be a third-party endorsement advocacy group that was used by Consumer Reports at one point. This company has since went under. They had done they had started selling leads to people and giving people ratings for money, and when they got found out, they got shut down. So that one's gone, but this was at one point a very reputable company, and we led the way the entire time until that began to happen. Next slide. So this is basically CAL FIRE right now, but Washington has picked up the same standards. So has Colorado, Washington, Idaho, Texas, Ohio. It's spreading all over the country. So this is you have to install a non-combustible gutter cover on gutters to prevent the accumulation of leaves and debris in the gutter. It has to be A-class fire compliant or rated, and that ours happens to be so. So this is just a document that shows you, hey, this is actually happening. This is I'm not making this stuff up. This is a real deal, especially in California, but the whole West Coast. And insurance companies, why they're doing this in areas across the country is because somehow they have to subsidize this to everybody in order to alleviate the cost for the people in the worst areas. And obviously, that worst areas are Florida and North Carolina and Texas, Texas, the Gulf down there in Houston, the whole coastline of California, and Washington and Oregon. So just FYI on that. Next slide. This is just a map of where all the WUI territories are. The ASTM is what is guided through. They test all the roofing materials. Pretty much everything you can dream of that goes on a house is ASTM tested. They're not as well known to the general public. So we are kind of being advocates for that as well while we're selling this, because we want people to understand why they're doing these things and why there's a drone flying over their house and they're getting their insurance canceled. So it's just a way for us to get information out there. Next slide. This is an article from Ohio. I had one from Washington. I'm sorry I didn't load it in. Sorry. But this is just states are begging insurers not to drop climate threatened homes. This is where it's happening the most. Texas, Florida, Louisiana, obviously California, and then it gets a little bit lighter for Washington and Oregon because it's still new. But as time moves forward, those areas are going to become darker as a result of the disasters. This is the 16 mesh that we're getting rid of. The 24 is right above it. The 40 mesh is above that. Now the 40 mesh has 1,500. Wait a minute. It's 1,600 holes per square inch, and the 24 mesh has 900 holes per square inch. So just a FYI, I'm sorry, 565 holes per square inch. I'm thinking 30 mesh. So all that information is actually on that first spec sheet that you have on your catalogs. Next slide. So pitch. These gutter guards need to be installed between a 19 and an 11 degree pitch. I don't care what the roof pitch is. Whatever the roof pitch is, you need to be at least at 11 degrees or at least no higher than 19 degrees if you want them to collect the water optimally. You can break that threshold in certain situations depending on the roofing material, but I don't recommend it if you're not sure. I use the 412 pitch as my cutoff for flat wing installation going underneath the shingles. You can do it on 512 and 612 if you're experienced and know what you're doing. And you know, hey, on this roof, I know the water's going to be moving slow enough to put it under the shingle on a 512 pitch. An experienced installer is going to know, yeah, I can do it on this one. No, I can't do it on this tile roof or metal roof because the water's moving too fast. You will need to move to a bent wing product at that point. It is my recommendation, if you want to cut down on the amount of cost you're using, to use either bent wing on all roofs or flat wing on all roofs and carry a 4-foot brake with you and bend your own. You can do either or. Obviously, there's more work in bending your own, but they do come out exact because you're on site, you're measuring them. If you have a half round gutter, you can bend it to fit. Whereas with a pre-bent gutter guard, you're stuck with where it's bent. The only other option is to flatten it and then rebend it, which doesn't make it look very nice. So just FYI on that. Best way to do it, in my opinion, is have 1 or 2 guards that you use most often. Keep it in stock, and then special orders. We do those special orders. We can give you a custom sheet, and so if you do run into a half round, we can bend them for you, and obviously send out the proper product. Next one. This is just an example of pitches. You guys are roofers. I'm just preaching to the choir, talking about pitch. So we'll move to the next one. This is just a standard installation under the shingle. Obviously, this is a mill finished aluminum. This is one of the products we're going to be doing away with as the mill finish because of the shine, the glare. And when you're coming down a driveway on a house that's down below the hill or on a hillside, and you can see the top of the house, the reflection's pretty good during the sunny times. Next one. This is an obvious flat roof bent wings installation. You'll notice the reason I put this picture up here is because I want you to see on this installation how they put caulking all the way down the middle there on the gutter guard. I don't say to use caulking or not use caulking. It's really your preference. But if you do not let it touch the front of the frame like this is. What's going to happen is water's going to accumulate on either side of that bead. Run out.
No, really fast, John. On the colors, we're going to be doing black most of the times because that's when you see your guys buying it, it's black because it kind of goes off the roof, correct?
Yeah. Most people buy the charcoal. My biggest dealers buy one color. And it's usually charcoal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. It's just easier to work with. It's easier to sell. You're on a roof. The roof shingles match pretty much. The charcoal matches a shadow. So it kind of just blends in with the roof real well. Yeah. Yeah. So but the main point I'm trying to say here is on this where they have that caulking that's out in the front of the frame in that seam. You don't want that touching the front frame like that. You will want to stop it before you get to the frame. You want it about 1/4 inch off the frame if you're going to put caulking in a seam. The other thing is you do not run your finger down the caulk line. If you run your finger down it, you're going to create a little gully with the round tip of your finger, and the water's going to collect in there and want to run down to the front of the gutter guard. So don't ever do that. If you put caulking in, leave the natural bead there. Stop it before the front of the frame there, and leave that the other part of it open. It doesn't need to have anything in there. In fact, if you have frays from the gutter guard itself, let me show you. I prep these on purpose. Let's see, where's that one at? Right here and right here. So I prep them. Can you go to camera? Let me know. Am I up? All right. So these gutter guards show up like this. They're pre-cut tabs. You will clip these off. And what I like to do is I like to make them look like this. And you'll notice that I've got that off the edge of the frame here and off the edge of the front of the frame. The reason I do that is because every little fray that touches that frame, water can ride along it. So when you tuck this in and you fold this over like so, and you make your pressure seal, that water is going to stay inside the gutter. If you don't cut it away from the frame just a little bit like this, you will end up with a drip. Not every time, but sometimes. And so in order to avoid that sometimes drip, you just want to make sure it's off this front edge here on the inside of the gutter guard. This front edge, just cut it just a little bit back at the seam, and you will avoid getting a service call just about every single time. Also, no frays along the edge here. Don't have any straggling wires that are sticking up here. We try to cut most of those off for you, so we cut them pretty close, as you can see. But sometimes they're sticking up a little too far, and you got to cut them back. Doesn't matter on the back side as much as it matters on the front side to prevent a drip. So just FYI on that. The seam is the most important part on installation when you're trying to avoid drips. Next, we're going to talk about high flow inside corners, I believe. What's the next slide?
It's the.
Oh, sorry. No, we're going to talk about inside measurements. Sorry. So when you're measuring a gutter for a custom job, this is the measurement I'm looking for. He's pulling it up. This is the measurement I'm looking for. I'm looking for that blue line right there, that inside measurement. When you do a bent wing product, you need at least a 1/2 inch clearance on the back side, as you see there. That 1/2 inch is so that you can have something to mount it to. The bent wing product it needs that clearance. Now, if you have a gutter that is flush with the roof, you need to factor in possibly lowering the gutter or moving to a flat wing product that you can put a slight bend in or a kick to, keeping it at that 11 to 19 degrees. Is there any questions on that?
Junior, any questions?
No.
Okay. So on the commercial box gutters, same thing. That one's almost always going to be a custom because of how they build them. They're usually not exact measurements, depending on whoever put the gutter guard in. The half round, same thing. Always get an inside measurement, whether it's flat wing or bent wing, because if it's a custom, I'm going to have to draw a diagram and give them an inside measurement and then an overall. So if it's a 7.5 inside measurement, you need an 8.5 inch gutter guard for a flat wing, and you need a 7.5 inch gutter guard for a bent wing, except the overall on that's going to be 8. So because you have a 1/2 inch clearance on the front that sits on the lip. So we only want the inside measurement for that. Just can't iterate that enough. With your fascia style gutter, I don't know if you guys do a lot of fascia style gutter up there. Ours down here are all 4.5 inch openings, no matter if it's a 5, 6, or 7 inch fascia. They go by the depth, obviously, rather than the width of the gutter itself. The K style, obviously, is as long as it's a 5 or 6 inch. Any bent wing I make is made K style right out of the gate, so it'll automatically fit any of those. Okay. Next.
5 or 6.
This is a custom gutter guard form. So what my production managers require is a drawing for custom gutter guards. So I've preemptively made a drawing for you for either flat wing or bent wing, depending on which one you need. And you just write your measurement on it, and then I can do the rest for you on my side of the fence. So I'll make sure you have those custom gutter guard forms. This is what I'm looking for on an inside measurement, obviously, and I know I'm preaching to the choir to a lot of people, but salespeople, you really need to make sure that you're getting the correct measurement. A little bit off can ruin an installer's day and ruin your manager's day and ruin your payday and just about everything. So
that's when you guys are here.
That's right. So make sure you get a correct measurement for if you're doing a bent wing custom. Or if you're measuring for a bent wing product, to make sure it's the right fit. If you need those measurements for what our standard measurements are for a bent wing, I can certainly send those to you as well.
And that measurement on that metal roof that looks pretty pitchy, would that be a bent wing, that one?
Yeah, that was a bent wing installation that we did, and it sat up above that, obviously that kick out, because you want it, you don't want it below it. It would be tilted backwards. So you got to go above it. We want to be up underneath the roof line, so you can put that at that pitch. That was a 9/12 pitch, so it's a very steep metal roof. So you want it almost flat, but you still need that, again, that 11-degree pitch. Or I'll go down to 8 degrees on a straight up and down, like a mansard roof, or a 12/12. I'll lower it to 8. You got to kind of use your judgment when you get into those unique situations. Next slide. So this is just a standard installation. They made this installation with the caulking in it. This is going to show you how they do a fold in this installation video. And this was before my time, so I have since figured out that the phrase and the cutting, that prep that I just showed you, is very important. You're obviously mounting it to the back of the fascia like so. I would leave this seam exactly like it is without caulking. That's a great seam. That does not require any caulking. It's folded perfectly, and he took that caulking down and touched the front of the frame. That's going to get a drip. That's going to get a drip every single time. So whenever you use caulking, it's really important you be careful with it.
Yeah, because what he's saying is that water will come off and peel off, and customers will see it. Why even do caulking?
What's that?
Why would we ever use caulking? Is there a reason?
So sometimes when you're moving, and sometimes you'll get one that's got, it's just got a finicky screen and it won't press together clean and it'll leave a gap. And so if there's a gap, you want to fill in the gap. And so, it doesn't happen very often. Once you get the hang of it, you probably never happen again. But when you're first learning seams and doing seams, you might end up with some gaps. It's good to have a tube of caulk with you just in case, so you don't get slow, so you're not slowing down and stopping and pulling it off and resetting it and trying to get it to work. If you leave a little gap, you can use a little caulk, just fill in the gap. Just again, don't touch the front part of the frame.
Yeah, great.
Next slide. So this is obviously another metal roof bent wing installation, just to kind of give you an idea. This one does not have an end cap on it. It's sitting flat enough that it didn't require an end cap. I don't recommend that, but many installers will, to speed up the process, not put an end cap on. If you want a nice clean look, please put an end cap on. I sell a pre-bent diverter that I'll show you here. It's already ready to go. You just cut it to fit. It looks just like this, and it just sits on the end cap, and you seal it. You seal it or screw it down. It's super easy. Keeps the birds and rodents out, and then you don't have any callbacks. Gives it a very nice finished look. Again, this guy put the caulk in the seam. And he did everything right except he brought the caulk out past the frame there, so he's going to get a drip there. So that's just again showing you what not to do so you can see it. This is a perfect seam. I love this. This is what I like to see. They did put it in pretty flat. Didn't need to. They could have raised that up a little bit and gave it some pitch, and it probably would shed debris better. But it is very high up. This was like 14 feet in the air, so not going to get as much debris up there because the amount of wind it's going to receive. It's going to blow most of that stuff off, so probably won't need to be serviced. But if this were on a lower part of the house, where in front of the roof, the door or something like that, then obviously aesthetically, it's going to work great. But it's still, aesthetically, they're going to have to clean it off if they want it to look nice. This is just a mounting a screw. Next. This was that 812 pitch after we got the gutter guard on it, or 912 rather, and they put this in too flat. I wasn't on this job. I just got the pictures for it. I would have lifted that up underneath that lip there more and gave it some pitch, and you have the ability to make that adjustment. So.
You'll have Jones somewhere, by the way.
I'm not.
You'll have Jones.
I'll have Jones.
Yeah. No. Okay. So
obviously, this is the same thing except it's flat wing. It's just sliding underneath the shingle. Obviously, you could see how much easier it is just sliding it underneath the shingle. It's a much faster install. I usually do all my corners first, and then I come back and just fill in the flats. And it's a very, very rapid install. 200 feet. You shouldn't take you more than 3 to 4 hours on a house. And again, he goes too far on the caulking. This is an alternative method to the seam. I don't use this method because if it doesn't lay down properly, it doesn't work as well. You get debris stuck underneath it. This is an overlap method. This is another tuck method. This one's done correctly. This is how I would install this job properly. You'll notice how it's buckled a little bit. That's okay. You can be a little bit buckled there in the seam, as long as they're both sides are touching. It's gonna function properly, and you're not gonna get that drip. Now they did leave a little bit of fray in between that gap, which may or may not cause a drip. So like I said, it's better just to try to clean it up as clean as you can when
What about those screws? Those screws don't even look like they're popped into that thing.
Well, on this particular one,
They look pretty damn close. I just wonder if that's
they're pretty close, but they're on there fine.
okay.
Yeah. And that's obviously a nice flat wing
Well,
installation.
and I know you salespeople won't be installing them. Chewy's going to be more than installer, but then you can talk to your customers a little bit how it kind of goes under and tucks under that kind of situation. Remember, sometimes being the sales, the less is more. Our installers will take care of that. We make sure that they know what they're doing on more consultant and things like that.
Correct. You'll notice on this outside corner, there's a cover strip. It's a nice finishing strip, so it doesn't matter how well you cut your corner, other than just making sure it's the right length, because you're going to have a nice cover strip that's going to clean it up and make it look nice and clean. We make those pre-cut for you if you want them. So if you're placing an order and you want pre-cut corners, I can have them all pre-cut for you. This is a high flow inside corner. And let's go to the next slide. Outside, next one. Oh, go to past this. There we go. This is a high flow inside corner. So this is what I'm going to show you next, and we're going to move the camera over here in just a second to show you exactly how to install an inside corner and deal with an inside corner that's going to have high flow water, like a metal flange like you have here. So I'll show you this. So this particular roof that we built is really, we made it troublesome on purpose. The gutter's too low. So when the water comes down this flange, it'll shoot right off the roof. So when I have my water demonstrations, I like to show that so that I can show you how the diverters work. We don't have the water set up today because we didn't have the tool to do it. So, but I will set up diverters in these inside corners, and usually I'll use this color, obviously, because that matches the shingle. But in this, I did these in white so that you can see them in the video. These will sit inside the corner. You glue them down. You do not nail them, obviously. You don't want to avoid roof warranties or anything like that. The water will come down and hit that first diverter, but then it'll want to cascade back to the middle, and then and so you put another set of diverters, and then it'll cascade again, and then on the third rung, your water's moving slow enough to go into the gutter properly. Now we've got a new product that just came out that I will be selling that will solve that inside problem with the water. That inside corner problem without doing diverters. And
yeah, this is because on this demonstration, the gutters were not installed properly. So because what we have over here, if we had those diverters, we have a lot of pine needles and a lot of pine cones.
Yes.
Like that. So this would be more trying to solve the person's problem on the low gutters, kind of.
Correct. So when you have so say you've got a inside corner, it's right over the doorway. They get a pile up of debris here, and water's going over the top of it because you got a pile up that it's a 412 pitch like this one is, and you're getting stuff stuck on each of the diverters. That becomes a problem. What we've done is we've created a new product that actually just lays in.
It's going to shoot water under the shingle. Yeah.
No.
Or prevents it from going over the edge. But
It lays on the roof. Now these come in different pieces.
He's on a state.
You actually glue it to the roof like so, and the water comes down, and it's moving so slow by the time it gets to the gutter that it doesn't matter how much debris is on it. It's still going to get through. So this product looks like this. It's made with a type of silicone that it can be 220 degrees, so it won't melt on the roof. It's pliable so that large debris will still slide over the top of it. So when you get into a situation where you have debris that might get stuck, it comes right off. Now, pine needles, obviously, it's going to collect some, but ultimately, if the bigger the pile of pine needles, the more it's going to want to fall down and come off of this. And so we haven't tested this real world yet, other than it works to slow down the water perfectly. So we're still going to be testing this as far as how it works with debris and things. But so far, I haven't gotten any debris to stay on it other than pine needles.
That's
So,
actually.
yeah. And there's two of these. Actually, it comes in one piece in case you have an inside corner that doesn't have this metal ridge here. And that piece looks like this. So if the metal ridge isn't there, you just glue this on the roof, right on the inside corner, and then the water slows down so slow that it'll just trickle into the water no matter how fast the water's moving from the top. So, and obviously if it's moving, if you got a 20-foot run, you're going to put two of those in it, and it stops that down. And it's sitting it's such a low profile that, like I said, debris just doesn't get stuck on it. It's just too short.
Yeah, no, that looks like a great product. John, just let you know, please keep the prices to us.
Oh, okay, sure, you got it. All right, so the high flow inside corner. This is. Did you have a question? No. Okay. This is the high flow inside corner. This is how it shows up to you. Whenever you are putting these on, you can put them on with a bent wing product or a flat wing product. The bent wing product is going to be cut to fit. It's going to look like, if you were cutting it to fit, you're going to cut it down to fit in the gutter. And you will balance it on screws on the back side. I usually put 2 screws on either side, and then it sits on the screws. This is very rigid, strong, 20 gauge. Sorry, 20. Is it 21 or 20?
20 gauge.
It's 20 gauge. Yeah, it's 20 gauge wire. So it's very thick wire, very rigid. These corrugations give it even more rigidity and also better water throughput. Again, that uses the same technology as the Valor to make water go through it easily. So you have 2 options or 3 options for the inside corner, or you can use 2 of the 3, which is the inside corner, the high flow, and diverters, or the high flow and the new product we just came out with. We don't have a name for it yet, but we're working on it. So this is how it ends up looking. This particular one, I cut exactly like this, so that you're going to cut the edges off. You're cutting this part to fit, and then it's inserted underneath the shingle and the metal flange there to give you your water throughput. Again, these diverters, very inexpensive. So they come in packs of 10. So if you need them, order them. It's worth it putting them on. You're not going to get a call back on an inside corner if you use the diverter or the specialty item that I just showed you.
Yeah. Well, because I'm not going to solve the problem because all the water just
Depends on the angle you got.
Sure, was the gutter too high? Was that this problem?
No.
This here is a pre-cut corner. It's pre-cut for you, and so when you get them, you can just assemble them on the roof. Comes with a cover strip, so it's wrapped together. You just grab your corner with a cover strip wrapped together, and you take it and you place them everywhere on your house where your corners are. And when you get to that spot, you just assemble them. Pretty easy stuff. Now, when I put them on, I cut take the strip. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take the strip. Are you under the shingle?
Yeah.
There we go. And you'll see there's a nice big gap there. That's okay. So what you do is you just cover your gap with your strip.
That's if we make our own.
I'm sorry?
That's kind of if we make our own?
The cover strip you'll have to cut to fit.
Okay.
If you make your own inside corner, you can cut them however you want, obviously. Grinder is most commonly used if you're on the roof. It's easier to carry a grinder than it is a skill saw or a chop saw, obviously. And then you carry your cover strips with you so that you can cover the gaps and mount them when you put your corner on. Yes, you can cut them yourself. They're pretty easy, but I like the pre-cut ones because I don't have to.
Yeah. No, we
keep moving.
We probably grab buy a whole bunch of those pre-cut ones. There's no reason for us to stop there.
And most of them, these are like leftovers that I'm using right here. So they weren't cut specifically for this. I just grabbed some scraps off the scrap pile, and so that they're not going to be exact or perfect. Whereas the ones I'm sending you are going to be pretty exact. Okay. All right. And I think we just need to talk about dry screen area now. So we're going to back that camera up. I'm going to grab this melt-away product because we use this in a dry screen situation, and I'll have him pull some slides up real quick that kind of illustrate what that looks like. And this is the last and one of the other more important parts of, actually, we could go through end caps too if you want. So end caps, you can fashion them out of the covers, or you can fashion your own. A lot of guys like to take their gutter material and fashion them to look nice and pretty like this one, or and they'll put them on with 2 screws, one on the bottom, one on the top. They like them to go back up underneath the shingle with the gutter guard, but you don't have to do that. You just want to make sure you're covering those gaps to keep the squirrels out. Go to the next slide. This is another way to do it. This gentleman did this way because of the way that gutter guard sat on the gutter. He was afraid water was going to come out the side on the back side. I don't recommend ever putting it in that way, but it still it works. It works fine, but it has to be maintenance. You're going to get a buildup of debris against that little backstop there. But if you do have a unique situation like this gentleman did, you can do it that way. It will still work. Just again, make sure you're conditioning your customer to know that, hey, there's going to be a little bit of maintenance in this type of situation. Next. This is the way my boss likes to do them. He likes to fill them with caulk. I don't like the caulking there, again, because of the runoff you get, the buildup you'll get on the end there. But he likes it. Next one. This is more of a diverter style gutter guard cover, and one of the things you got to think about is on the back side of this gutter. This obviously protrudes out away from the house, away from the rake board there. So he's going to have a big hole in the back, which means there's a place for squirrels and stuff to get in. Make sure you're looking out for that kind of stuff. Also underneath here, I still would have put a guard under there, even though there isn't. They didn't do one on this picture. I'm a little bit more thorough than most people. I like to make sure everything's covered and sealed, just to make sure we don't get birds' nests, rodents, things like that in there. Because obviously that's a callback. Obviously that costs money, and we're in the business of making money, not costing money. So, all right. So dry screen area. You're going to run into these types of things out there where there's an awning over the back patio. You're going to have gutter guards that go underneath the back patio awning there. For gutter guards to work, they have to be wet. So if you're in a dry screen area, that water's going to go over the top of that gutter until it gets nice and saturated, and then it'll begin receiving the water. Usually about 20 minutes on a slow rain. On a high rain, it's usually about 10 or 15. So just FYI, if you end up with an awning like this, I want you to sell this piece too. This piece is a heat cover that we talked about earlier, to put a heat cover underneath. But what it does is it sits on the screen on the front edge. You don't put a heat cable in it. You just mount it on top of the gutter guard so that the water will hit this backstop and not drip onto their porch. You will get a little bit of debris accumulation, and let them know, hey, I just want to make sure you have the best experience on your back porch and you don't get water overshoot. When you put a gutter guard on, water can go over the top of it. So we put this backstop here so that it keeps that, still sheds debris fine, but you might have to maintenance a little bit more often because there is a backstop, and we just don't want to get your furniture wet. Because what'll happen here on this backyard is that they've probably got all their chair cushions in that little box right there, and that box is going to get soaking wet, and they're not going to be happy with you. Also, roof granules on their patio or deck. So when you put a gutter guard on, especially my gutter guard or any gutter guard similar to it, roof granules will go over the top and land on the deck or patio furniture. So you want to make sure you properly prep your customer and say, hey, you got a lot of debris coming off the back of your house. I want to make sure you understand that that debris that's not going to be in your gutter now is now going to be on your deck. So you're going to have to make sure that your gardener is cleaning that up. Otherwise, you might have some issues. And I'd pull my furniture out from underneath the eave of the roof.
Really fast, John. When you say we put that divert or that piece right there, is that going to go on the back or on the front?
Goes on the front lip.
The
And
front lip.
it lines up perfectly with the screw holes on any given piece. And so you're basically just loosening the screw, sliding it underneath, and it sits just like this. Can you go to the camera?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sits just like that.
And
And so-
that helps for the drip won't drip off.
Yeah, that'll keep that when the screen's dry, that water that would normally go over the top of it until it gets wet, until it's wet enough to create the surface tension. This will prevent that from happening.
Okay.
The other things you can do misters where they realize it's going to rain and say, if you don't want your patio to get wet, turn your mister on for 5 minutes before when it's raining to get the screen wet, and you won't get water overshoot.
I think we'll probably use that product there to kind of go over there.
It makes the most sense. It's the least amount of headache. If you start trying to get creative with misters and things like that, people start, you end up with issues.
Yeah, well, we just don't want them enjoying their nice barbecue and all of a sudden it's raining and they're covered, but then they see that dripping coming off as well.
That's right. That's right. That's going to eliminate that for you. Go to the next slide. Sorry, I had some technical. This is another example of the same thing. Just FYI, these are the types of things we're looking for. Go to the next slide. So you're going to run into this stuff as well on gables. So you'll see gables where the gutter empties out onto the roof. The water will spread out left and right and go to the dry side of the screen, and you'll get overshoot until it can capture it. I recommend putting a diverter there. Or some type of device to slow the water down. You can probably use the mats I was just showing you as well, but we haven't tried that yet for this type of situation. So right now it's just diverters, just to push the water to the wet side of the screen. Downspouts, high flow areas. So when you have a downspout that's on a roof and it's emptying out, obviously you're getting a lot of water there. At those points, you're going to want to make sure you put large mesh in those areas. If you're using large mesh already on the whole house, not a big deal. A lot of guys will put splash guards down there with a standard mesh. I think that looks ugly, so I don't do it. I just put a large mesh. Same thing here with the gables. You notice they put splash guards there instead. I would have put where those blue lines are, diverters that push that water out, leaving small gaps so that some of the water can get through and trickle through and get that screen wet, so that if there is a much higher flow coming down, it captures everything. Also, I would put a diverter in that inside corner as well, or I'll put one of those mats there. So this particular part of a roof, you're going to run into these once in a while. There's a screen area on the backside. You got a little 2-foot piece of gutter, and you got the whole roof emptying out into that one little shovel there. And it's going to come down off that roof, and because it's underneath, it's a dry area. A lot of that water is going to go right against that screen and into their screen enclosure. So you'll want to make sure you compensate for that and put something that's going to push that water out and slow the water down on the roof to make that work properly. If you run into that, feel free to call me if you're not sure. There's all kinds of ways to maneuver water. The problem with a lot of things involving water is every time you put something in place, you have a new problem that you have to deal with. So just FYI on that. And we've kind of dealt with everything under the sun. So if you run into something you're not sure about, give me a call and I probably have an answer for you.
Hey, John, back on that, the other photo where you showed the second story roof dumping onto the first story.
Yes.
And you have some of the customers that have the downspouts going over the rooftop area. How do you handle that when it's dumping into the second from the upper roof to the lower roof?
Yeah, that's so large. I use large mesh. Depending on how far down it is, you can use a device to slow it down, which is that vectoring system that I showed you with that mat. You can put that mat down there where it's coming out of the roof, and that thing slows the water down to a trickle.
I think what he's talking about is where you actually put the gutter, the downspout laying on the roof, and it goes to the gutter. We have that. Some customers have the gutter actually laying down, like it's going all the way down, laying on the roof, and then you have an opening for the gutter.
Oh, an opening towards the gutter. Yeah, you have to use some type of device to slow it down. Most of the time when I have those types of situations, like where the gutter empties out on the roof, and you have a downspout right there as well emptying out, it's just a high flow area. I do diverters. I'll do large mesh. I'll do whatever it takes to make that system work. So I would have to see a picture of what you're talking about.
See where your blue arrows are at?
Yes.
Picture that being a downspout going over the top of the shingle.
Like it's laying down on the roof.
It's laying down. Okay. Those ones I usually I extend the downspout down and into the gutter. And so I'll put an elbow on.
Wrap the screen around it on the outside?
Yeah.
Have it actually go into the gutter? Okay.
Yeah, they're already running it out onto the roof. And if I can't slow the water down, we got to figure out a way to keep that in the gutter. And usually that requires a piece of gutter material or a piece of downspout material and an elbow.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, this is just a tile roof doing the same thing. That water on that roof is moving fast. No matter where it's coming down at because of how it's built. And that downspout right there is that water coming off that top roof and then down into that little cubby into that 3-foot piece I guarantee you that water is probably going over the top of that gutter, whether it's got a gutter guard on there or not. So I would put diverters in there. I would also put something to slow it down up by the downspout itself. Next one. Similar situation. Obviously, some of these roofs weren't designed to send the water out. I think that's what you were talking about right there on that downspout on the right side there.
Yeah, but where they actually take the downspout, put it all the way into the gutter below.
I would have that's what I would have done with that. I would have ran that down to the gutter because they're going to have that water's going to be moving too fast for that metal flange at that pitch.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's a problem area for that house. Next one. This is just a metal roof, kind of doing the same stuff. I would put straight diverters with a little V in them across there, just to make the water break left or right coming out of that downspout, so that if we have high flow, it breaks left and right, and we get a little bit slower movement on it. Same thing on this one. Next. All right, so You're going to run into stuff out there. Is that everybody clear on diverters and dry screen area?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a GAF report, obviously, about gutter covers and gutter shingles. Most professional installers of gutter covers have their own specific application instructions that they must follow to obtain the maximum benefit of the gutter cover. In almost all situations, products that are installed in accordance with good roofing practices do not impact the roof manufacturing warranty. Very important to know that, because your competitors out there, if you're using a flat wing and you're going underneath the shingle, they're telling your customers that it voids the roof warranty. It does not.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that. Like I said, we have a couple installers here, but most of these guys are sales. So that right there is definitely something that is good to look at when people say, well, we do gutter screens or something. Like you said, this is for the up to their code or whatever, to be able to not void their warranty. Which is good.
Right. So GAF put this out a long time ago, and they still stand by it. No GAF limited warranty covers manufacturer defects of the shingles, does not cover the gutter cover or damage due to their installation. So basically what they're saying is, if you damage the shingles, yeah, that's a problem, that's the truth about anything. If I throw a rock through your window, I got to fix it. So the GAF technical service assistant can help you guys with that if you need it. I can send you a copy of this bulletin.
Yeah, no, that would be nice. I'd like to have a copy of that.
Yeah, and it tells you what to avoid, and you can show your customer, hey, as long as we're not penetrating the shingle with a fastener, we're good. You know, removal and replacement of shingles, we aren't doing that, so we're not taking your shingles off unless you're doing the actual roofing also. If you're doing the roofing also, it doesn't matter because you're a roofer. So removal and elimination of drip edges, you're not doing any of that unless they're missing a drip edge, in which case you're in your roofer mode, so you're still good.
And like when we do run into people that are, you know, the gutter helmet, leaf free, those guys, you know, like you said, we say we are, like I said, kind of certified. We know exactly what we do if we are, you know, we're not hitting in the roof. And that
yeah, you guys are certified roofers, so you guys are out there and you have the advantage of being, you know what, we can do whatever we want because we're roofers. And so my guys that are out there know what they're doing, you know, and so that when you come with that kind of authority to the customer, and they're worried about a gutter guard company versus a roofing company, you have much more power, obviously, in that sales transaction. Obviously, you're not going underneath the underlayment, you're not going underneath the tar paper or the membrane for any gutter guard installation. If it's a 5-inch gutter K-style and you're going underneath the shingle, it never crosses the drip edge or the flashing, so it doesn't go that far enough underneath in order for it to be a problem anyway. So you just want to make sure your customer understands whatever that person told you was lying to you. And some people will say anything to get the deal.
Don't laugh, Dan.
Yeah.
It's true, I swear. Yeah, trust me.
Go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, we already did the inside corner. This is just kind of a little demonstration of how you would place the diverters on the first rung of shingles. Never do it on just the first rung for the diverters, just FYI. Never set them apart this far apart. You want to put them closer together, unless 1/4 inch is what is my rule of thumb. And then you just glue them down. You never obviously put a screw or any kind of fastener into the roof unless you're nailing down shingles.
I mean, if we're using ice and water, then
what?
Yeah.
Would ice and water be present in that spot?
Well, no, just trying to slow down the water.
I know, but so if we were trying to hang a nail there instead of.
We would never hang it on there.
All right, next slide. So if they have Christmas lights, if they have Christmas lights, we have Christmas light clips. I would keep a couple hundred in stock just in case you run into this situation and they say, oh, I don't want a gutter guard because I can't put my Christmas lights up. Yes, you can put them up, and we'll show you how. And you install them for them at the end of the install, and they're good and down the road.
Are they permanent or like how
They
easy
can be. So if you use them while you're mounting the gutter guard and you use your screw hole to mount the Christmas light clip, Yes, they can be permanent.
Perfect.
So in that case, you would bend them over the hole, and then you would just screw the screw through the mounting bracket.
Perfect.
And those are nice soft aluminum. You can close that shut so that it hangs that. So when they hang that light, it stays on there, and then it can be pried open very easily so that they can take them off if they want to take them off, take the light off for
Are
the year.
they replaceable if they break since they're kind of soft?
They don't break unless you do it, 20 times. If you wrench it back and forth, yeah, eventually it'll break. But if you're just opening it to pull the wire out or closing it to lock it in there, you're fine.
Cool.
I'll send you some samples of that too.
Yes, please.
Don, I don't know how close we're getting, but I was gonna.
We are at the end.
Okay, I was just gonna maybe just kind of reiterate, because like I said, we have about maybe two installers in here with 6 sales guys. So I wanted to maybe pop out a couple, just why are these better than leak-free gutter helmet? Yeah, we have some mixed emotions. Some believe that the gutter screens are not as good. But I don't know if you have a 2 cents on that or whatnot. Maybe throw a couple ideas for our sales guys and how their sales.
Absolutely. So you have a lot of gutter guards out there. You can just leave that one up. You have a lot of gutter guards out there that don't have the versatility. They don't have the fire rating. They don't have the debris shedding ability that these gutter guards have. Your reverse curves, obviously, if they're a single unit like a K-guard, water and debris gets into them, and eventually they have to be cleaned out. They have to be blown out with a power sprayer. If they are the gutter helmet style, where they slide up underneath the shingle and are mounted to the roof, they actually put a screw in the roof. That does void the roof warranty. So FYI on that one. Our most micro meshes, like I said, do not have the technology we have. We have specific depths that we put these impressions into the screen so that the water will fall through it. A little bit less, the water doesn't go through it. A little bit too deep, then we get the wires begin to break. So we have a very specific micrometer out there that actually tells us, where our depth is, and we make all the screen the same depth. So it's going to shed debris and take water better than any other gutter guard out there. Anybody using an impression in their screen shouldn't be doing it. They're breaking our patents. We can go after them, but it's $500,000 every time you chase somebody on something like that. So it's something that if it's a small time thing, it's not as big a deal. But if it's a big scale thing, then we have to get into it.
Are you talking about more of the waves kind of?
Yeah.
The screens?
Yes,
Okay.
the screen impressions is a patented design. The louvers on our gutters are patented design. Nobody can do those. Like I said, you'll see people out there that try to do it, but it never really works. They're usually not deep enough. The impression, or they can't get the depth proper so that it will shed debris and take the water. Ours is calculated to do both, and so they spend a lot of time doing a lot of adjusting, a lot of changes, and going through dyes and materials to try to figure out how to make that work, and we've perfected it. So you have an advantage in that aspect. The 304 stainless steel and the cold rolled aluminum are 50-year plus products, so you have a lifetime warranty on parts. They're not going to corrode or break down. If they do, you call me and we'll figure out why that's happening and get that stuff replaced. We are considered one of the highest rated gutter guards in the country because of our debris shedding ability. When you go up against like a leaf filter, or you're going up against anything plastic like raindrop, again, you fall into, this is going to pass a burn test. If it doesn't pass a burn test and your insurance company says you got to have a WUI compliant product on your house, guess what? You've just spent $7,000 or $10,000 on a gutter system you can't use. And do you really want to get yourself into that situation? As far as screens go, you're going to have probably the best range of screen sizes that work in any region around the world. The 24 mesh it keeps pine needles out, but also lets silt and pollen wash through. So it's a universal size screen. I recommend that on most jobs. Again, the 40 mesh, which is actually going to change to 30 mesh next year, is a fine enough mesh that you're not going to get pine needles through that at all. So, and 30 mesh does the same thing, but we'll get into that later. It's going to be pretty much the same size in the 30 mesh, but we're going to have a larger gauge wire next year, and it'll give it more rigidity and more surface tension, and probably even more water throughput. But we're still doing the testing on it to see if we're going to continue with that project.
Okay, I got. Who do you think your 2 or 3 competitors are? The biggest competitors?
Leaf filter, gutter helmet, and probably gutter armor.
Okay. So basically, you guys compete with the top guys.
We only compete with the top, and the reason why we're so successful is because when we compete with the top brands, we're actually half the price almost. So they're charging $40 a foot for their installs, between $35 and $40 a foot, and they're getting it. And so it's important to understand that and know that, hey, you've got a gutter guard. It's not only a better gutter guard, but it's cost effective. It's the best gutter guard on the market by many professionals across the land, and it's also A-class fire compliant. You've got a win-win across the board as far as gutter guards go on this particular.
And right now, I think we're pushing what, 28 a foot. So we're about
28 is great. That's a national average, is around $28 a foot, 23 to 28.
23, 20. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I said is, I think that a lot of times the salesmen don't really know until you get in a house with at least 3-year gutter helmet that's seen $12,000 for the gutter system.
That's right.
And then our roof is $12,000. It's like crazy. So we are glad to offer a superior product, and like I said, that's our motto. Say we're a quality product for a fair price.
And the gentleman that was selling Valor before you, that you bought this the business from, this gentleman used to sell, I believe, for $35 a foot. So you're under that threshold. So that's and he was our biggest dealer in the country.
What? Dang, you gotta get back in there, dude. Come on.
Yeah. You got a lot to live up to, man. You got a lot to live up to.
Yeah, I got a good team here. This is my team here. These guys are gonna kill it.
I can't wait to see, man. I can't wait to get into it with you. And if you have any questions, if you're out on a sale or you're out on a job and you run into a pickle that you can't figure out, man, give me a call. If I'm available, I will answer your questions and get you down the road so that you're not stuck.
Okay, perfect. That's great. And will you can I give these guys your number and all that jazz?
Absolutely. Give them my number. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this. I have a couple questions from some of the consultants. Sean has a question. Go ahead, Sean.
I just wanted to go back to the screen sizing a little more because, here we obviously have a lot different tree shapes. Mostly we deal with the evergreen with the little mini pine needles.
Yep. That one's going to be you're going to want to use the 40 or 30 mesh for that.
Yeah, the 40 mesh, which obviously is going to be a much finer mesh, but how is that going to combat with the algae and other particles that are going to clog that system?
If you have organic growth, you're going to want to put a moss strip in it.
I'm almost thinking we're going to want to be like standardized with that. I'm more of trying to think of
there's a lot of companies that are in similar climates as you that are standardized. I've got a lady in New York, Northwest Seamless that or Northeast Seamless that she does all of her products are moss away products. She puts a zinc strip in everything because it eliminates organic growth and you just don't have any problems with it if you have an organic growth situation.
And I think for us at the sales side of things, if we just had a standardized program with the zinc on it and the moss away as well as the 40 mesh or what will be the 30 mesh is our standard purchase for about 98% of our customers, that'll help us tremendously.
Yeah. That would be fine. I would suggest trying the 40 mesh, or I'm sorry, the 24 mesh on one or two jobs just to see if you get a better water throughput in that situation. When you're dealing with that kind of situation, you're getting a lot of pollen. The pollen is like a pine tar pollen, which may require more maintenance on the 40 mesh versus the 24 mesh. So if you can get away with the 24 mesh, you're probably going to get a better result. That's just my opinion, and I could be wrong, but
Well, I agree with you there too, just by the size of the holes that they're going to eventually get clogged the tighter they get.
Yeah, the powder with the pine tar in it, it can cause a problem over time for sure.
Yeah.
So
and like,
you're going to want to make sure that if you do use the 40 mesh, that you let the customer know, hey, this might have to be maintenance once in a while. If you have some really hot days, sometimes that pine tar will melt and stick to it like glue, and so and that's true for any gutter guard you put on there. So it's not going to matter what's on there. So one of the things you can use is WD-40 to break that oil emulsion up, or pine tar up, and then you'll put some Dawn dishwashing soap right on top of it and wash the oil off so that it functions properly.
I like that idea.
yeah. Well, and like I said, our other dealer that we bought from, he was around for 15 years. He started out with a gutter company. That's why it was gutter and roof. So yeah, he's done a lot of it. And I think that we decided that we're going to stick to the ones that he wasn't having a problem. What mesh size again? That you want us to kind of, because
24 mesh.
24 mesh. 24, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because he's seen a lot of the, trial and error. We want to kind of.
Yeah, the finer mesh will definitely you get a great review for the pine needle part, but the pine sap, it becomes a factor at that point. So the 24 mesh fares a little bit better.
Yeah.
On the pine.
And nothing's going to be maintenance free. I mean,
I tell that to everybody. If a gutter company's telling you it's going to be maintenance free, they're lying to you.
Yeah, I know exactly.
So you said you never want to put silicone on that outer edge of the guard?
I don't. Some guys do, and they swear by it, and they don't have callbacks because they do it in such a way that it keeps the water in the gutter rather than giving it a vehicle out. Just remember, whenever you're putting silicone somewhere in a rain environment, imagine where that rain might go if you put a glob of silicone there. Is it going to gather on the edges of the silicone and then stream out? Because it only takes a little bit to give to make it look like there's a leak, coming from the gutter, especially if it's raining good.
Well, the reason I asked that question is if you permanently attach your Christmas light thing to it, you're going to have drips there.
Possibly, yes. So possibly, yes. You're going to have, there's going to be some water accumulation on the gutter hanger itself. So you want to make sure you tell your customer, if I put these up during the rain, they're going to drip because obviously you have a gutter hanger hanging there. Yeah. And so if you just preemptively let your customer know, hey, I know you're spending $7,000 on a gutter that you don't want to see drips at, but because we're putting light clips on it, it doesn't matter what light clip you put on it, whether you're putting your Christmas lights up on your gutter or you're putting a light clip on your gutter guard, you're still going to get a drip because obviously there's something for water to catch on to.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. I think any more questions? No, I want to give you guys these numbers to you, and then I really appreciate you partnering with us. And I know that, like I said, we are the only dealer that can offer these, correct?
You are. It's in Seattle.
Good. See?
Are you in Portland?
No, it's
Okay.
Seattle, Washington. Well, yeah, Seattle, Washington. They don't
Okay.
have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering that if you guys went down to Portland or not. Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. Not yet. Yeah. Okay. Pretty John. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you. And I'm gonna tell these guys that anybody that sells a new gutter system this week gets an extra $250 cash. So very exciting to help. Right?
Nice. Right on.
Okay. All right, John. We appreciate you. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have a good one. All right. Bye-bye.